Welcome, everybody. Another episode, another evening, February 5th, 2025, to Excess Proceeds Free Training. Tonight, I will be your host, Donovan Poole here. I'm going to talk about tonight's a subject that in our business of surplus funds and excess proceeds, even wholesaling, things like that, it's just really some processes, some tips and pointers of just how to locate folks, how to contact people, a little bit of what to say, a little bit of what to expect, how to respond, and also just a little bit of just basically how to get them to respond. Because in our business, simply they don't know us, right? They don't know who you are. They may not know of the situation. A lot of times they don't, and they're going to be confused, right? And if you have, depending on what market you work, you may have other people contacting as well via phone calls and texting and all kinds of stuff going on. So, you got to realize that they've had a lot going on over the last probably 2, maybe even 3 years or more. And then especially as for our business, surplus and excess proceeds, the closer it gets to the auction, is they're getting hit up by wholesalers and people wanting to buy the property and make these offers and things like that. They've had to go through that. And for whatever reason, even realtors will start calling people that notice, realtors have access to the same information that we have with the realtor data system, the MLS. There is some free software, free websites out there that can give us, clues to what properties are going to be for sale, things like that. So these folks are getting hit up all over the place. And like I said, they could be confused and burdened overwhelmed and burdened. So you just want to be as clear as you can with your message. And also, depending on what type of lead that you're working, um, how fast you can actually get to them. And then when you do get to them, what does your message say? Are they going to pay attention to it, or going to ball it up and throw it in, the trash can? But anyway, we will start covering more of that information as we go throughout these few months and year and things like that. And everything won't always be a meeting and an event. Sometimes we'll just drop things in the group. So we thank you for being a part of our group, Excess Proceeds Assistance Group. And here we go. So I'm going to pull up the agenda here. I don't even know if this is more than seven. 7 steps to finding claimants. Like I said, this can pertain to wholesaling as well. 7 steps. So preface, there are many ways to reach a prospective claimant when you work in excess surplus funds. The steps are, they're pretty general, but we're going to uncover and go into detail some key points of each step. We're going to break some things down. Okay. All right. Uh, the first very thing that, everybody thinks of is the telephone, right? What better way to communicate with somebody other than just simply picking up the phone and give them a call? But in this day and age, we have 2 ways to call on the telephone, actually 3, but most popular are going to be landlines and mobile lines. And some of your skip tracing might say wireless lines. That's the same thing as a mobile wireless line. You might even get results back from your skip tracing that says other. Okay. Other. What is other? Other might be a pager. It might be a fax machine. Other might be any other kind of phone number that the claimant might have been attached to, but typically it's not going to be a landline or mobile because a lot of skip tracing, I actually haven't found any skip tracing that does not these days tell if it's a landline or mobile, and it's pretty accurate when it does that because it's pulling the registration from that from that number into the number system to tell what kind of phone number it is, landline or mobile, and that's going to be 99% of your results. So what we do, excuse me, what we do in our claims company Recover, we focus on 2 things. We focus both, but we focus on the mobile numbers more. And for obvious reasons, more people are going to have a mobile number than a landline these days. And the mobile number is also going to connect you to being able to text them and be able to have them respond. Now, not everybody is going to respond to a text message, okay? So one of the important things and I'll go over some of this information. It'll pull together what I'm trying to convey to you is you want to speak to people on a level that they respond to. And the only way to really, really do that is to use some clues that I'll go over tonight and drop some information, some clues. And also, basically, and the clues are coming from the data that you have in front of you, from your skip tracing and things like that. But speak to them in the manner that they'll respond. So we focus on landlines, excuse me, we focus on mobile numbers first. And at the same time, like on that day one, I will always start out with the process to contacting somebody in the form of like a brand new lead that you just got and relating that to a Monday. Okay. You don't have to start your messages on a Monday. Start the messages whenever you get the lead. But for clarity and, imaginary purposes, for example purposes, we're going to imagine it's Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday are going to be bonus days. So we start with calling mobile numbers the first day and also texting that mobile number. If the person did not answer the phone the first time, we call back about 7 seconds. All right. 7 seconds is for a reason. Imagine you getting a call, looking at your caller ID, and you don't know who it is. And the number goes away, they leave a message, and you say, huh, you don't know what it is, right? If you have a lot of voicemail on your phone, you may not be able to get the voicemail, or your voicemail box may be full, right? And then you got to go delete some things just to get to it so that you can play that message. Keep that in mind. But that does not mean don't leave a voicemail. I don't recommend leaving a voicemail on the very first call. Leave a voicemail on the second call, because your goal is to get them on the phone to get them talking, right? So don't give away everything up front. Call twice, call in 7 seconds. Imagine getting the number goes away, and you're putting your phone away and you're going on about your day. Well, time that. Naturally time it. How long does it take you to put your phone away and close the screen and go back to what you're doing? Well, I found it's really about 7 seconds. You still have their attention. So when you call back again, they typically still have the phone in their hand, getting ready to put it away in their purse. And here comes another call from the same number. They might pick it up that time. They may or may not. On the second time, then you want to leave your voicemail. Hey, I just tried to call you. We got some good information for you. Whatever your message is going to be to your voicemail, we'll go over some of that stuff, not today, but as we travel through this journey. See what I did there, journey? Anyway, but anyhow, 7 seconds later, call right back. And then on the second call, recommend leaving your voicemail. Not a ton of information. You want to get them, you want to tell them why you're calling, but you don't want to tell them everything. You don't tell them how much money and all this kind of stuff, because they're going to make a decision not to pay attention to you anymore and block you right there. You just want to kind of pique their interest enough to where they know it's a legit call. They're kind of interested in seeing what you're talking about and to call you back. So then we focus on landlines after we've done our mobile work. Okay. Why do we do that? Well, number one, most people carry a mobile phone over a landline. And also, well, you can't text a landline. So we focus that secondary. Okay. Now, also, this is where I'm going to drop into talking about some of the data that you're provided. Okay. So you think about it. Who's going to have a mobile number? Anybody can have a mobile number, but who's typically going to have a landline? It's going to be your older generation. Um, don't crucify me, but I'm going to say people that are usually probably 50, maybe 60, 70, and 80, they're going to still have a landline. So then they may not answer the phone, but they might pick up their landline. They might even be home. If they're home or wherever they're at, they might even pick up the landline as a priority over the mobile phone. So don't give up with just the mobile phone. Call all the numbers that you have, because you're trying to reach out to them with any way possible that you can. So what we do is mobile first, landline second. Now, when you call the number, some landlines, remember the old caller IDs, they made them have that hooked up, but the mobile number definitely will pick up your caller ID. So what does your outbound caller ID say? Do you even know? If you don't know, call yourself, or call a friend, or call your family member, or your kids or somebody, and look at the caller ID. Ask yourself, would I answer me, or would I hang up on me? You might surprise yourself. But check your caller ID. We're actually going to try some things over the next few weeks and months, as far as getting people to pick up pertaining to what the outbound caller ID says, right? You don't have to keep your caller ID your actual phone number that you're calling from. You can actually name your business caller ID, or if you're using a regular phone, you can name that outbound caller ID. I'll put this in the most services call it caller name ID. It might even be abbreviated as CNAME. Okay, it stands for caller name. So CNAME, ask your provider, how do you change your CNAME? That way, when you call out, they see something different or something enticing to pick up. Something that we're actually going to try is, we might even say money or funds. Money is calling. You know what I mean? Imagine that. But you don't want to seem too scamish. I'm just showing you things that you can try to get results to get people to call you back. Another thing that you can do is now you're going to have a system that is set up for this. There is some services that do it, but it's voicemail drops. Okay. What is a voicemail drop? A voicemail drop is basically an automatic system that will leave the voicemail for you without ringing the phone. It's also called ringless. Okay. It's also called ringless voicemail. Ringless voicemail, like I said, there is some services that do it. There are CRMs that do it if you set it up that way. I personally have not tried it, but I will tell you that I've seen that it works, and we will be trying it. And I'll give some report backs on, if that increases our callback ratio or at least our pickup ratio, things like that. But voicemail drop, ringless voicemail, it rings the phone. Excuse me, it does not ring the phone, but it leaves like a secret voicemail, and all of a sudden, bing, you got a voicemail message. So they never got a chance to see their caller ID. Never got a chance to block you. They just got a voicemail message. Try it out. And if I find some services that do it at a reasonable cost, like I said, we'll follow back and put those recommendations as we go. Another thing that I want to talk about, and this is straight from the website that I'll bring over, something that we are going to get into in our business here, is cleansing the phone number. Now, and what I mean by that, cleansing your likelihood of your phone number that you're calling from showing up as spam likely. Okay, these days a lot of people are calling. There is a lot of scams and spam. So these phone services come up with screening type of services and features that let your phone say spam likely. Okay, you've probably seen it on your phone. And what do? You probably go off of it and say, okay, well, spam likely, I'm going to believe it, right? Sometimes you may even be paying $2.99 a month or $4.99 a month for your personal cell phone line to have that feature. So you're naturally going to believe it, right? So there's ways to combat that. There's ways to cleanse your phone so that it does not ring up as spam likely, or it helps from that. And that is a link right here that I'll put in the chat. And I'm also going to show you the website real quick and bring it over here on the screen. This is called Smartphone with no A. Smartphone. Found this article a little bit ago, and it's just a good read, and it explains pretty much what I'm talking about, and it might even give some recommendations to services that you can try or do that will help in that situation. Okay. And that's a situation that you don't want to be in. You don't want your number ringing up as spam likely. Here, I want to talk about it just for a second because I'm looking at I read it earlier. Um, the CRM that we use is based upon Go High Level. They do have something called Stir and Shaken. Our phone numbers are registered with this. It took like 48 hours to register the number, and then it does have that Stir and Shaken cleansing system on it already. But like I said, there's other services that you can run the business number that you're using to cleanse it from that spam likely. But just a little bit of information on how does it even target you as spam likely, right? And then if you can try to stay out of that, then you can use the cleansing services less. So it's basically we're going to talk about algorithms a little bit later as well towards the end, but some of the stuff is a high number of calls in a short amount of time, right? So it's basically looking at and judging the number. Wait a minute, you can't be calling 50 people having a 30-second, 5-minute conversation. That's not right. That's not human like. So it's going to take that as a flag for spam likely. It's going to look at, the length of, like I said, the length of calls that you make, the volume of outbound calls, and also, have you ever called that number before? Okay, these are what these services are doing in the background. They're looking to see, have you ever called that number before? And all of a sudden now you're calling that number over and over again. Well, you could have a long lost friend that you're trying to connect to, which we are. And our claimants, all of them are long lost friends. That's just another feature, another point that it is, tagging what you do. So that drops into, I'm gonna put that link in the chat in just a second, but that does drop into the next thing I want to talk about as far as, contacting and using your phone. If anybody, I'm looking for the chat. If anybody does see anything in the chat, uh-oh. I turned the mic up a little bit if anybody has any trouble. hear me, let me know. Uh,
No, I'm okay. That was before when the music was
okay.
on. I'm okay
All
now.
right. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that. Yeah, just let me know. Let me know. I'd hate to start and ramble on again. Let me know. Appreciate that, Susan. Um, but yeah, cleansing the number. And then, let's talk about real quick. Let's talk about the times that you call, right? So if you start, like you said, start at the beginning of the week or whatever on a Monday, fresh lead or whatever it is, and then you call in the morning and you're not getting a response. Well, what we do in our practice is we skip a day and then we call back the next day, right? On, let's say on a Tuesday, we're either getting more leads or doing some other skip tracing or doing whatever else we need to do in our business, giving that first number a rest and maybe even calling different numbers or calling other claimants on day number two, right? Day number two is Tuesday. Then let's go with day number three for the first number, which is going to be our Wednesday, right? So we're going to try to call again. So if they didn't pick up in the morning, try shifting your call time. Call in the afternoon, right? Call in the evening time. You can decide and also pay attention to your um, time zones, right? You don't want to call somebody at 8, 9 o'clock on the East Coast, especially calling me with something that might sound like a scam. Because I may not cuss you out, but I'm definitely going to hang up on you, right? And then you're working on that uphill battle. But I will tell you firsthand, don't take that as a fail. Don't take it as a fail because you never know who that number actually belongs to. Just keep trying, right? And then keep going down your list of the 7 ways to contact claimants. And like the music was saying, don't stop believing. All right. So texting. What should we do to texting? You can use a CRM, which is what you see on there. It says automated, or you can use natural texting. Okay, let me talk about that for a second. Automated text messaging over the last 2 years, you now have to register your number, which is what's called, I think it's called TDLC. Um, Forgive me if that's wrong, but if you know what I'm talking about, when you register with a CRM, it is basically registering your number because it knows you are going to make automated calls. When you use a CRM to make automated texting, I mean, um, if they're following the rules, you have to actually put some kind of opt-out message on the bottom of your text. Most systems, I'm going to speak for go high level based system that we have and built, things like that, and some other services provide. Um, of course, they make you do it, right? They don't make you do it, but you can get cut off if you don't really quickly. But the opt-out message is basically so the customer can look at that and say, stop or cancel, things like that to stop your automated text. They typically don't do it on the first text, but if you're setting up an effective campaign, you've got that bad boy program to text on the first day, maybe text later in the evening, and then wait a day or whatever you're doing, and then text them the next day. So by the end of the week, the person's going to be like, hey, I'm not the person you're trying to find, stop or cancel. You want to reduce the amount of opt-outs that people are responding with because technically you're only really supposed to be texting people who have opted in and put themselves on the list. Now let's get real. Ain't nobody ain't nobody doing that in this business. We are trying to locate people. But if you creatively make your message, it looks like you're not really trying to sell something, that you can make that message attempt make it look like you're just simply trying to help somebody, and that's the name of the game. We understand that other people may be calling, but literally we are trying to help people. And the people that you help, they're going to be very thankful that you actually reached out to them and made this whole thing make sense. And the name of the game is to get their money so you can get paid your finder fee or commission that you have presented to them. So that's the difference between texting and then also the same thing. Text in the morning, switch it up, text in the afternoon, switch it up, text in the evening, switch up your days. If you didn't get a response on a Monday, try Wednesday. Don't get a response on Wednesday, try Friday. And then I am going to recommend a text on a Saturday. Because remember, sales, sometimes you got to work in reverse. When you're free, other people are working, and when they're working, you're free. So definitely, I do recommend using your Saturdays. I don't recommend Saturday evening or anything like that, really, but Saturday between, I would say, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. before they get to ripping and running and enjoying the Saturday. Get a chance to get that message in front of them so they can absorb your message and go to your website and stuff like that and have something to think about for the day. But hey, we're not marking anything off the list text in the evening, do whatever you can to get their attention, okay? Find what works for you. Natural texting. That's basically using a real phone. You can use a separate line if you have a separate line, or you can use a separate app if you have a separate app. Uh, some of the apps that you can do is Phone Burner, Text Now. Those are all relatively low cost or even free. But the difference is you don't have to have that opt-out message because you're texting from a real system. Well, the downside is now you can't text blast. You have to text one by one. Okay. There are some people in this business that have very high success, and this is maybe a reason why, is because they're using a natural phone number. And guess what? We are going to start doing that in our business as well. My VAs have a system to where they're going to start, where we're going to be testing all of this stuff. Automated messages versus natural messaging. Another thing, the length of your message. I'm guilty of this. I have set up our message because in our business, we've set it up like a business, not a super professional business, but a legit, business website, business presentation. But I typically have put, and I think I put more, too much in the text message. So I'm going to be shortening those up quite a bit for many reasons. One, we want to improve our callback ratio. Number two, we want to pique their interest and get them on the phone so we can do the closing and not just rely on a machine all the time. And number three, get away from having to appear that it's automated. If I text you with a whole two paragraphs, do you really think I wrote that? Or do you think that was pre-written? And then when you see that automated opt out, yeah, that was a pre-written message. So then you think, oh, scam, oh, something trying to sell me something. Or you may not even read the dang thing. Okay. So we're going to be shortening up our messages, and I'll be marketing and testing some response rates, and I'll be sharing that with our group and our business, and also, finding out what works because we're in the business now of continuing to dive in to see what works and what doesn't. So that's automated versus natural. Anybody have any questions so far? I need to take a breath. Any comments, questions, ideas? Everybody good? All right. We're moving forward. I'm gonna take a sip. Hello, Sarah. Good to see you. How you doing? All right. Email. This is one thing I am guilty of as well. We're not sending enough emails. Emails are in a CRM, they're not free. They're micro charges, like fractions of a penny. They do add up. But we're not sending enough email. Okay. So we're going to send more email. We are using more skip tracing options that can send the email to basically get more emails. We've been using direct skip for a lot of things. For many reasons, we use direct skip. We'll continue to use direct skip, but we're going to tie in another system to pull more emails. So the question is to use it or not to use it. Well, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, I'm going to say use it, right? But you want to use it in a way that, again, it doesn't spill all of the beans. Try it both ways. Try giving some information, maybe not exactly the amount. That's up to you, how transparent you want to be, test it out. But definitely, I would recommend using your email. And you can also pull up emails from True People Search. It does have email there. True People Search, I believe, I need to look. I believe it also tells you something in there that says when that email was last seen, which basically means if you're going to email it, is it active? Is it even an active box? Not necessarily is it the correct email, but just is it active? You know what I mean? So yes, I would definitely recommend using your email because it's, next to free and it could get you a response that you definitely need. Because also another thing is if you know anything about marketing, anything about sales at all, and if you don't know, now you want to be in front of them over and over and over again until they make a decision. Now, I'm not going to say what some hardcore teachers say. They say buy or, the D word. I don't want to say it right now. But I don't really believe in that. I made up something totally different. If you know me, you know me. I am into MMA boxing and also going to start jujitsu practicing this year, pretty soon, hopefully by summer. But I say put them in a jujitsu headlock, right? You can't, and I say that for many reasons. Number one, it's what I'm interested in. Number two, in jujitsu, it's really about defense. It's not about offense in jujitsu. It's really about defense. You want to disarm your opponent and get away safely, or subdue them to where, put them to sleep. Or, but your thing is not, you're not trying to kill somebody, okay? You're just trying to control it, right? And then protect yourself and get away from the situation. So that's why I say, put them in a jujitsu headlock till they make a decision. It's a lot safer. You're controlling, you're not trying to kill anybody. So anyhow, yes, use your emails. A couple of email systems that you can use. We haven't used these because we have a CRM to do it, but a couple of popular ones are MailChimp, and there's another one on my mind if I think about it. Or if anybody else has anything, put it in the chat. But MailChimp is one next to free. I think it's like $10 a month, something like that. You can look it up. But that's where you can set up your base message and then set up a blast. And I believe MailChimp also does campaigns where you can email. Oh, another thing about text, change your text messages up. Don't text message the same message. Don't be a robot. Change your message. Hey, I text you on Monday or whatever. And then the next message is, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of you. Don't mean to bug you. Whatever else you want to, be human, have your message human-like and change it up. You can do the same thing with your email. Just preset your emails. A lot of systems do have it where you can plug in the information. And so where it will email on what we call a drip campaign or an ongoing campaign automatically. So you can be doing something else in your business. But MailChimp, check it out. Yes. All right. There is something else I wanted to talk about with email, but I apologize. I didn't make a note. I normally do this with a pen in my hand, making notes so that I can jump back. I apologize. If I think about it, I'll jump back to it. But moving right along, let's talk about mail for a second. This is a good conversation right here. We are doing, I love marketing. If you can't tell, I love talking about it. I love doing it. I love seeing the responses. I love trying to make it better. This is what I do. Mail is definitely effective, and you can actually make it more effective. And we are getting ready to go on a huge mail campaign, and I'll be reporting back some things that we have found. I have already found uh, success in getting mail responses. Okay, I remember talked about it last week in the previous meeting, but I'll go over it shortly here. We sent out a campaign last year, 2024, in January. That's when we actually started using mail. And what I found is um, one out of every 20 pieces, and again, let me continue. One out of every 20 pieces got a response. And when those responses came back, they were yeses. Okay, they were ready to go. They didn't have any questions. They didn't have X, Y, nothing. They're ready to go, right? And it's because of some of the things that you do to set yourself up that way. Set yourself up with a decent website. Set yourself up with, a nice logo or whatever. Don't spend, the bank on a logo, but just set yourself up to where they can make that decision, reducing that friction to the sale so that they're ready to go. Give them ways to do their due diligence. Give them ways to, because that's the less proving you have to do on the phone. So I'm going to skip down, like I said, one out of every 20, and we probably did it for 3 months. And these were all over the place: Ohio, New Jersey, Washington. These were all the customers that actually responded back. Yes, they were ready to go off of mail. I'm going to talk about this first, then I'm going to go back and talk about the type of mail and who to mail, right? So effective mail packets. This is what we found success in. We sent basically an overview letter, not a detailed letter, but just overview letter, something decent that said the message, what we're doing. We did try both ways. We put in the case number or whatever if we had it, anything to make it, legit, right? The actual case number, things like that. The type of claim it was, a little bit about, if it was from a foreclosure, stuff like that, because you're sending a piece of mail to somebody's actual mailbox or property address, things like that. So we did not hide the fact that it was a foreclosure. We wanted to get cut straight to it, explain that in the mail, explain that there was no upfront fees, no out-of-pocket expenses, with however you want to choose to word it. And we got responses. They called back and they were ready to go. So let's break it down. It's the letter piece with the overview and something in the middle, if you have it, called the proof, right? Show me the proof. What are you talking about? So overview was number one. That's the front page. And then in the middle, like a sandwich, the middle was the proof. Open it up. Do you have to show them the exact court document or whatever? No. You can clip it, you can snip it, whatever you want to do with it, but something that shows their name and that it was real, right? So that's the proof. Then something new that we're going to do is actually sending the agreement with that letter. Okay, that agreement is not going to be filled out with some people do it with the percentage baked into it, right? You can, put that 20% down there, put that 25, whatever it is. Because if they're ready to sign it, they've already got it in their hand. And that's the point, right? But the other point of sending the agreement with it is to reduce the friction of who you are. Show your legitimacy. Show that you have a legit company in your address. Show that you actually have a binding legal document. But also, when you're just sending the agreement for your claimant, it doesn't have to be a super complicated piece of paper. And that's the point. We want to show them what not to be afraid of. So then when they agree, they got time to read it over and check it out. So when they're calling you back, hey, I got your agreement. How do we do this? How do we get started? That's what you want. Less talking, less proof, less sales and all that kind of thing, and get straight to the close. So we're going to send the agreement with it. Another thing we're going to start doing, and we'll continue this, we sign the letter. So when best regards, Donovan, or best regards, Isabel, or whatever, and then sign your name. Show that you're real. Sign the name, spend some ink. And that's called personalization. Another thing that we're going to do is inside the letter, and I just bought some of these today, some sticky notes. Add some color, some flair to your letter. Put a sticky note on that letter inside that says, something short, thank you, or whatever it is you want to put. Looking forward to helping you, whatever it is. But that's just another form of personalization to reduce that wall between the agreement and legitimacy and building credibility and showing that you're human and not just some corporate company looking to make a fee and all this other stuff that they might think, depending on how you set your business up. So add some personalization. I have some peach sticky notes there and also some lime green sitting right on the desk that we're going to use as well. Let's talk about the time of mail and who to mail. So at the beginning, I was kind of a rookie at mail, right? Still a rookie. I'm never going to call myself a professional. You probably never hear me say that ever because it's always a learning process. You can always improve. You can always do better. You can always stop doing what doesn't work and start doing more of what works. So we were sending it to the property address. And the reason is we were sending it, these were leads that right after the property, like same day, like we were in the mail the same day, or at least the same week. And then after what happened was my mail provider started, giving us what they do is they scan each mail piece and anyway, they started giving me bounced mail. Like they showing me the bounced mail. Okay. So one thing you can do that we have pre-printed on our bottom of our envelopes. It says address forwarding service requested. Now that is a free service that the Postal Service provides that if they do have an updated address, they'll forward the letter and get it to them. Now they may not report that back to you. It's not their job. Their job is to deliver the piece of mail, especially for 64 doggone cents. And it keeps rising. Back then it was 55 cents. This year it's 64 cents. So anyhow, you want to get your message in front of them. We were mailing the property address. Now that we've learned a little bit better, we're going to start mailing the mailing address because why? That's the name of it, mailing address. Anyhow, you will find that the mailing address in a lot of instances is the same as the property address. Well, okay, that's fine. But if you have a different mailing address, use it. Highly recommend using it so that it gets it to your claimant. What kind of mailing address could it be if it's not the property address? Well, if you're using a tax sale lead, then it's usually where they're picking up mail like a PO box or wherever they're sending a tax bill to, because that's why they've registered the mailing address with the tax lead so that they mail the tax bill to the mailing address or PO box or wherever they want to pick up their business mail. So mail it to the mailing address. If you've gone through your system and you've really tried to find a claimant and you just can't get a response, now you can certainly mail the relatives. Okay. How do you mail the relatives? Well, your True People search and free sites like that, just look at the next door neighbors or well, no, excuse me, that's mailing the neighbors. I'll just talk about that. Mail the next door neighbor. They might know what's going on with the people that lived across the street or across the way that have now moved. You never know. Put that sticky note in there, trying to locate, haven't got a chance to get a response, whatever it is, put that sticky note in there and mail it. I would not I wouldn't use the same message that you're mailing to a claimant to the neighbors or relatives. Make it different. Make it say, hey, I'm trying to reach the property owner of XYZ. They forgot something and I'm trying to get it back to them or whatever. You choose to make it creative, right? And then have it where that neighbor or that relative low barrier of confusion to respond to you, and so they can help you locate that claimant. Now, think about it. If you have a lead that was just foreclosed on the first week or first day, probably don't want to mail neighbors. You can, but I probably wouldn't recommend it right away because that can get real expensive. Try all your things first and leave those things, if, at last resort when you can't get a response. But also think about this. Think about the type of lead that you're actually mailing. Is this a state fund lead to where maybe it's already went through its achievement process and the state now has it because nobody could get a hold of them or find them? Okay, that's one reason to go ahead and mail the neighbor or relatives. Um, or is this like an unclaimed fund that's not a tax lead fresh or not a fresh foreclosure that's been sitting in the system for 6 months, a year, or whatever? Then sure, that makes your further decision on how much to spend on that initial reach out. Again, I don't really recommend mailing the relatives right away. Mail the mailing address. See what you can come up with. Because if you're going after a true lead that's unclaimed, right? That's foreclosure that just happened last week, technically is not unclaimed. It is, but it's not. Unclaimed is something that's been sitting there for a year or two. You're gonna have to probably work a little harder to find them, but when you do, you might hit a gold mine because nobody else has, right? So that shows you how you can go deeper, and that's why we're doing the 7 steps and going over this information so you can decide what to do when, how much to spend, and how effective can you make it. Okay. So um, use the three-piece, another thing I call it three-piece suit. Use it the three-piece suit, the letter, the proof, decide if you want to send the agreement or not, personalize it up, mail the relatives when you feel like you need to mail them based upon what I'm sharing with you, make decisions, use the data that's provided in front of you. It'll also tell you in True People Search when the person was last registered or known at the address. It shows you there. And then that way it gives you a hint if that mail will be delivered to the proper person. Step number 5. Now, this is something that you're going to have some kahunas to do is door knock. All right. People in wholesaling, people in this business. Absolutely. There's an attorney in Michigan. She door knocks. If there's something unclear. Now, am I going to door knock somebody that just went to a foreclosure? Sure. Why not? Just make your own decision. Um, I'm probably not going to door knock the property address of something that went into foreclosure 2 months ago because they're probably not there, right? You're going to the new folks. But door knocking, it's called be brave. Do it or don't do it. If you don't want to do it, there's ways that you can still door knock that might be a little expensive, but if you got 150 grand and nobody's able to find it, you might go through some channels that other people aren't doing, right? So you can have services do it like the old Craigslist. You can put up a job task on Craigslist. Hey, $15 to go knock on his door, $10 to go knock. In this day and age, people need money, man. I'm telling you, people are working 2 and 3 jobs to make it work and pull it together. But there's several things that you can be creative. You can send an Uber package, an Uber driver over there with a message. They do have an Uber service. I think it's like $30, but that's a little expensive. But just think creative is what I'm trying to say. Um, Send an Uber driver to knock on the door. You just want to know is it the person, right? Now, let me back up. An Uber driver is not going to knock on the door. I'm getting too creative now. But let me move forward. Craigslist, you can make a job task. Another one I want to share with you is called taskrabbit.com. You can use taskrabbit.com. That is something nationwide service that you can do. You can also hire mobile notary. Now, mobile notary might be a little bit on the expensive side, but if you get in good with a mobile notary that works and you're feeding them things that are, paying them $20, but you're feeding them often, just talk to them. Hey, do you work this county or do you work this area? Are you going to be in these zip codes? Work your system and find out who you can work with. And does it have to be that very day? No, it doesn't. But if that notary is busy and active, they might be there in the next week. So you can give them your letter to deliver and knock on the door. They're a notary. Are they going to notarize something? Well, guess what you can have with them? Some sort of an agreement. Not necessarily going to notarize it, but the key is either using the notary to deliver the message. Don't have them put it in the mailbox without a stamp. That's illegal. But you can have them slide it up under a door, okay, without using a stamp. You can do that, or just simply knock on the door and attach it like a servicer. I can't remember what they called that work for the court. But they can servicers, that's what it's called. But they can deliver a message that way. Mobile notary, TaskRabbit, and Craigslist. Check it out. Relatives and neighbors. They could be your best friends, or man, they could be your worst enemies. Okay, you're going to find in this business that not all families talk to each other, but the ones that do, even if they don't, they can still help you, right? If they care enough, and you can pay them a spiff. If they deliver your message and you get a deal, throw them a couple $100. But they have to trust you, but it's something that you can offer, right? If they understand what you're trying to do and they have a heart and they don't hate the other person, they can certainly help you. So that's what's called worst enemies. Or they can be your best friends. If your skip tracing isn't getting the results and you don't think it's the right numbers and all this kind of thing, the relative might have the number. Use relatives that lived in the same house. If you look at your skip tracing, if I show you somebody's address and like True People Search, and then it says other people that they might know, click on them, build your own custom relative list, and look to see if they shared the same property address or if they shared the same mailing address. Those are going to be your relatives that you want to really hone in on because those are going to be your best friends. Okay. So use your relatives and your skip tracing data wisely. Check out what you're actually doing. Don't get in the habit of being a robot and relying on these automated systems. Yes, they could help with some of the mass marketing and covering ground, but when you start digging deep, when you have claims that are still in the system after a few months, you want to go through these 7 steps and figure out your way of getting a hold of people and getting responses. And your business should change and turn around for you. Dig deeper. All right, so that's relatives and neighbors. Like I said, neighbors are people that lived across the street, catty cornered, adjacent, stuff like that can definitely help you. Um, I do want to talk about, I want to talk about something real quick as far as contacting the right people. Okay. If you have a lead that shows like a probate, a lot of times your lead list will even say probate or EST, and that's short for estate. That does not always, or trust. That does not always mean that they're passed away, okay? It does not. That just means that they set up the property to be in a trust, and there's strategic reasons that you can do that. And one is to avoid, I believe, taxes, sometimes taxes or capital gains or things like that. It's strategic reasons to put your things in a trust. It's not, doesn't, or an estate. It doesn't always mean that they're no longer there. But if you do something, if you pull up, if you have a claimant and it does show that they may be passed away or something with your skip tracing or however you determine that, go to Google, search obituary for the person and their name and maybe even the county or state that they were in. Read the obituary. It's going to tell you most times, if it's online, it's going to tell you who they're survived by. And then it's going to name brothers and sisters and children, things like that. Check those people out on True People Search because those are going to be your heirs. Okay, cut your searching down and build your own heir list and your own relative list, and dig deeper. Especially if you know that 150 grand is still there, and you're trying to locate these people because obviously it's still claimable, right? So dig deeper. Couple of systems that you can use to do that kind of work is legacy.com and ancestry.com. Both of those are subscription based, but there is some ways to use it for free. The other thing I want to talk about real quick, now this is a gem that I actually found 2 or 3 days ago that we are going to utilize tomorrow, which is basically part of skip tracing, is part of the obituary. Okay. What we found was, of course, I had an obituary up here. Let me see. I'm going to show you this. What this was a personal message from the family or a friend, and it named the person that they were sending their condolences to, right? So that's going to be they're sending the condolences, most likely to a family member, and the person that was sending it was probably a friend or a coworker or something like that. Probably not a relative because they're sending it to themselves, right? Who does that really? I mean, they do. People do, of course, but it's probably a friend or relative is what I'm trying to say. But in that message, it actually said the person's name who did not appear in the obituary list as an heir or children, things like that. It said their name. So what you can do is take that name, skip trace it, and contact that person because they obviously knew your claimant and they might even be an heir or a step a relative, things like that. It was really creative, and I saw that, and we're definitely going to do that tomorrow. Okay. So go deeper in your messages and use the data. You are a detective. Can't find it right now, but that's what it was. It said, Dear, I think her name was Lakeisha. Sorry for the loss. Blah, 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 blah. But it actually had her full name. Okay. All right. Moving forward. Let's talk about Facebook and then we'll wrap it up and talk about Facebook just for a few minutes. Um, Facebook is a great way to contact people. So if you have your list, again, I'm keep saying True People Search because if you're just not getting started, you may not be willing to spend money on other skip trace services or all these subscription-based services. You might just be starting out and you want to use the free stuff. I'm just showing you how to use it more effectively or creatively. Okay. So Facebook. If you see somebody that's in a list, not saying that older folks don't have Facebook, but if you're skip tracing something, even True People Search tells you the relative age, and it's pretty close. I mean, it's pretty accurate. If they're 35, well, let's say 20 to 45, they might be the Facebook clientele. Check them out. If they are older than that, they might not be on Facebook, but don't mark it out. I'm just saying who to definitely look for on Facebook. Okay. So what you want to to do your Facebook is to really type in their name, right? And then put the city or the state. I wouldn't put both, but put the city or the state. So if I was looking for, I've got an example up here, had an example claimant, example lead, and her name was, apologize, I have it over here and I thought I had it separated. But what I'm trying to say is her name was, there it is. Dana Boynton, Boynton. First name Dana, Dana. And it actually does say her middle name initial L, and the lead actually says heirs. So it's Dana L. Boynton. And then I have where she lives, which was Francis Johnson Road in Orange Park, Florida. Okay, let me change the color so I can get back to that lead. Boom. All right. So what does that tell me? Heirs. Okay, she's probably no longer with us. It's probably going to be in state, probably going to be probate. That's number one. Number two is she has a not a regular, not regular, but not a common last name, not like Smith, Johnson, things like that. So the chances of finding her on Facebook using her name is going to be a signal that's probably the right person. How many Dana Boyntons are there, right? Then if you definitely find it on Facebook, it shows you there lives at or works at, things like that. All right. So that's how you use Facebook effectively. Now, one of the strategies is to basically decide when to use Facebook. You can use that thing on doggone day one. Why wait? Right? Make that your Tuesday if you want to. I called you and I texted you on Monday. I'm gonna let it rest, but Tuesday I'm sending you a message on Facebook so I can stay active through my week, right? And then I'm searching for somebody. Um, Basically, you're making a hit list of who you might find on Facebook like that using irregular last names, not uncommon last names like that. Type it in, see where they live, and you might find two or three of the same name. Send messages to everybody. Look at the activity, look at the comments, look at the dates of the comments, and you can also see people that knew them. Look at the friends list. Facebook algorithms will put usually who they're most active with on that top, I think it's six slots. Three on the top, three on the bottom. Okay. It's not always true, but that's a strong hint. Then also definitely Facebook the relatives if somebody is no longer with you, right? Facebook the relatives. You can call, you can mail them. But I definitely would send a message on Facebook. And what should your message say? Well, I'm sorry for your loss. That's what I would say. but I am reaching out for a reason. Sorry to interrupt or whatever you want to put it at, but I definitely would put condolences in there to get their attention. It's a real message. You're a real person. And then you can lightly, briefly tell them what's going on. Now, I've always said in relatives and things like that, don't tell them about a foreclosure and a tax sale or a bankruptcy and all this kind of, that's privacy business to the claimant. But if you have strong indication that, they're passed away, then certainly send your condolences and let them know, hey, we are desperately and some I put that we're desperately trying to reach. Let them know that you're working. Now, this isn't just a automated message, some robot or, I'm desperately trying to reach out. I have something for you and the family. Please give me a call back. You can also put your website link down there so they can do that research and decide if they want to do business with you or even, pay you any attention. Now, when you use your Facebook, I you can do it any way you want to, but I would recommend testing your Facebook out with another system that you are not friends with because you're not going to be friends with the people that you're reaching out to. So you want to see what they see first. Clean up your act if you have anything raunchy and dirty. Because if you do have something raunchy and dirty, unless they're just a raunchy and dirty person, they don't care. They're making a decision to take you serious. Okay. So clean it up, take time if you're going to use your Facebook effectively to contact folks and get a legit response. I recommend finding the top three people on your claimant list if you have multiple links, and then going through the same thing with your relative list. Everything you do, you're deciding on how badly you want to find them and how much work that you want to do to get a hold of them. All of these steps that I'm sharing with you, truly, it really boils down to an unclaimed fund where I know the money's there, then I'm going through all of these steps. And if I figure out step number 8 and it's unclaimed and it's worth the time, and I don't have a fee cap, or even if I do, if that fee cap is worth the time, I'm going to do it. Okay. So these are the things that you can go deeper in your skip tracing, all these levels. Um, and check people that have the same last name, of course, that have the same last name as your claimant. Check your obituaries, things like that. Those are hints of who to contact first on your hit list. And I say hit list, I really meant to, I really want to say target list, okay? What I mean by that is setting up a spreadsheet or a piece of paper to, 10, 15 cases that you are going to take these steps. And out of 10, 15 cases of unclaimed funds, the money is still there or whatever, you ought to be able to knock down one or two or more if you do all of these steps and do them with consistency. All right. The last thing I want to talk about, and it is 9 o'clock, coming up upon our hour, ding ding, is what we're doing now is using Zoom. Okay. Dig deeper and get real with your claimant. Again, don't always rely on automated systems and all this kind of thing. If you're brave to get in front of them, offer it to them. We're going to do it in our business. We have not done this, but I'm telling you things that we're doing, have done, and are going to do. Offering the Zoom. Hey, I would absolutely, yes, you can open up a separate Facebook account. And then if you do that, that's a good thing. I'm glad you asked that. If you do that, then automatically it's clean. And then you can definitely put in there, more about your business, things like that, or why you're reaching out. Because that Facebook is it's not gonna have anything on it, right? And you want to make sure that people, because that's the first thing I'm looking for. Do you have any friends on there? What are the messages that you've sent or comments and things that you've posted already? And I'm making the decision if you're real or not. Okay. So I would definitely decorate it up a little bit. Um, if you're choosing to make a new Facebook account for what you're doing. But the last thing I want, good, I appreciate you again for bringing that up. But I do want to end this out with talking about Zoom. Zoom is you can do, I believe it's 40 minutes for free. And if you have a paid service, which we do, it's 15 or 20 bucks a month, and it's unlimited minutes. And you can certainly use that to your advantage. You can offer that Zoom meeting. So if you can't meet them in person, if you don't want to do that, you can at least offer the Zoom. That's another step, right? You're reaching out to them with credibility, and if they don't want to get on Zoom, at least you offered it, right? You weren't some scammer hiding behind a computer. You're willing to get face to face with them. Things like that. You can also use Zoom or any other recorded message to record it, and then you don't really have to put. Now, if you're doing it really, really getting really, really personal, then record that message, say their name, say the address, say the credibility things of the case, and pre-record it and text it to them or email it to them or do something to where it's personal to them. Now, if you're doing it in a more of a mass form, then you can remember you can mix these strategies up. You can pre-record a basic message. Hi, this is Donovan. You don't know me, so I wanted to take time to introduce myself and let you know why I'm reaching out to you. You can just start it out real simple, right? And then you can basically make an outline of your Zoom message so you can use it over and over again. And it can be the same Zoom link. You can record it, you can put it on your website into your domain name and put that message basically turn it into an MP3 or a video or something like that, or even put it on YouTube or something. Anything that's going to save that message to where you can send that message so they can see who you are, why you are calling, and again, get in front of them with an effective message so they can make a decision to do business with you or not. All right. Those are 7 and maybe a bonus step or two of reaching out to claimants, what to do, how to do it, what systems to use, what works and what doesn't. We really haven't gone over what doesn't. That's not the point. We want to be positive and share things that work and get creative when you're reaching out to your claimants. Okay. Again, I appreciate you on this evening spending time with us to go over this information. Please use it. We're going to, and I promise you, we will report back to what we're finding to be a success in our businesses. Okay. Appreciate it. Anybody have any questions before we go? Anything like that that we can cover while we have a moment?
Donovan.
Say again.
Yeah, I have a question,
Sure.
Isabel.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
So okay, so like today I kind of found myself like doing letters. Um, but so
You said you were doing, speak up just a little bit. I can
I
barely hear
was
you.
doing some, I'm sorry, I was
Okay.
doing some letters.
Oh, letters. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have a new thing. I have no idea where my microphone's at.
You can scream
Um,
at me. It's okay. I'm just playing.
and so
Mm,
the list has like 20 people as relatives. Uh, I mean,
okay.
and they're like everywhere. They're not just all in one, one
Hmm.
state. So,
Hmm.
okay, so do I wait for to hear from the client first and then mail out to send the stuff mail to the relatives, or do I just send letters to everybody?
Well, that's a good one. So let me ask you, where do you get this list of people from?
This was wait,
Is it out of a case? Is it defendants? Or what is it?
well, a few of them are defendants, and the rest of them are from past people search.
Okay. All right. So that's a very good one. I'm going to cover something in a video tomorrow, but I'll tell you now, share with you now. Definitely start with your defendants. Those are the ones. A
Okay.
defendant in a case is somebody who has interest in the case, somebody who has interest in the property or interest in the asset. And that's probably going to be an heir right there. You want to do your defendants
Okay.
for sure.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the other people on the list are going to be people that the case, you're going to find a lot of times it'll say and or unknown, things like that.
Mm,
That's because they're not going deep. They're not doing what we're doing to notify people. They're sending one doggone letter and calling it good. County and state and all that kind of thing. We're the ones behind the scenes really taking steps to do all these steps right here and really reach out. So yeah, definitely great question. Start with your defendants and work from there. And that's probably all you're going to need to do. But you're asking also, do you contact the claimant and the defendant? And the answer is going to be probably so, yeah, because your defendant is probably going to be a spouse or somebody that, like I said, has interest in the property. So that's going to be somebody that can claim. Can they claim it all? Depends on your case. But yeah, that is definitely somebody to pay attention to.
okay. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, very good one. We're going to go over a case breakdown tomorrow on a video. It's going to be a recorded video, but I'm going to break down a complete case. I'm going to go over defendants, what they look like, stuff like that. So yeah, that's a good one to talk about. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else have any questions about anything? Anything like that? You got a case that you have a question about, maybe I can help with? Anything. All right. Well, if nobody has any questions, again, I appreciate you for attending this session. Again, we do this free. I can't promise you we do it every week, but I'm gonna do it as much as I really can, really, to help folks and share what I can in this business of things that we are uncovering and things that we are currently trying in our business. I appreciate you as well. All right. All right, everybody. Well, that's it. Meeting adjourned. Have a good night. Look forward to the video tomorrow, Thursday. It'll be dropping. I don't know what time, but everybody will be notified if you're part of our Access Proceeds group, and I know you are, and that's why you're here. So until then, same back channel whenever we do the next group event. I appreciate you. Have a good night, y'all.
All right, thanks, Donovan.
All right, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, and I.
You bet. Thank you. Good night.